in the interest of just trying to get everything out there, and part of our series on trying to help it, make people who are there are people who are Jewish in our country who don't understand, or better way by not understanding, like it keeps going. What this wave of anti-Semitism in Europe is, but and they hate groups here that hate Jews. But here's the thing: if you ask one of them, because I have a Star of David on my arm, so the fact that I have certain feelings to certain people, that they don't understand either. But I've asked them, like, people like this. Why do you think people all over the world, and many people now, and there's a wave of anti-Semitism in Europe, there are hate groups here, why do you think they hate Jews? And they will say, I don't know, and they'll say things like it may be that they hate themselves. It's a psychoanalysis explanation. Okay, here's the thing. Part of the thing is that for some reason they can't understand the Holocaust. I mean, they just can't understand how people, like that there can be no explanation is what they feel. But the thing is, if there's a society, it relates to our other topic. There was a big topic because of the prompt that got us started on it, which is when I said, or my initial comment. Things have changed, thankfully, in the situation, but that I said, look, the reason that Russia is, a lot more allied with, to the repressive regimes in the Middle East and Iran and stuff and everything. I said, look, a big part of it is they hate Jews. They sort of hate together, and that was like maybe a provocative comment. But you have to understand that why do governments hate together, and why is it even possible? It's a shame that you want to stop that from happening. Why? What did they say? They don't know what would explain something like the Holocaust. How could a society become that genocidal and towards one group if you perceive that the society you're fighting against is and that the people you're fighting against are simply depraved and inhuman, then you can do all kinds of things. And even to the point that you would, what we think would be a government that would be our ally is busy hating together with repressive Middle Eastern governments against America and Jews. But they need to understand the explanation so we could prevent that from happening, because when governments all hate together, we know what happens. It already happened. It's called the Holocaust, okay? So here's the thing. What's going on is this. If people, they know that we have a society where we don't care if people get sick, we don't care if little kids don't get their medicine, we believe healthcare is for the rich and it doesn't really matter, and we are even trying to repeal the little bit of healthcare that might have gotten kids with leukemia their medicine. We want to take that away now. If you think that you're dealing with a society like that, and that's, like in the case of the Nazis, that's who the enemy is, that liberal capitalism is, Jewish financiers control it over there, and look, you can tell they're inhuman. They don't even believe like we do, like the Nazi intellectuals, and that we should have a national healthcare system. I mean, if they don't even care if people get sick and they oppose such a thing, then they must be inhuman. I mean, that's the kind of thing that leads to things like the Holocaust. The level of anti-Semitism is getting there. David Irving speaks all the time. He's a Holocaust denier. I mean, but the idea is when you ask, it's good to put it in a video, because when I ask other people, like I said, there's a Star of David on my arm, supposedly these are my people, they actually, a lot of them are into like psychoanalysis and stuff, and a lot of them don't read history and don't want to read everything, and they'll say, like, I don't know, nothing can explain the Holocaust, and nothing can explain anti-Semitism other than they must hate themselves, I don't know, and they move on. Or they'll say things like, well, Jews have tended to succeed because they're very intelligent, and I guess that they're jealous of them. I mean, they actually say things like that. And a person like me, even though I have a Star of David on my arm, simply can't reach them, and I'm called like a Jewish Nazi for trying to explain to them that these societies in the past, and right now, what's going on apparently in Europe, where David Irving is asked to speak, who's a Holocaust denier, Right, I mean that they're perceiving that the society that they're dealing with is simply depraved, and when Vladimir Putin sits down and has more in common with the head of Iran than he does, and they're fine to sit around and hate together. When governments hate together like that, where you have countries that are not Middle Eastern who see Middle Eastern countries as they're sort of like that they're kind of more on the same page and like hate America and Israel together. This is what leads them to believe it, is these kind of things. We have a society where they simply don't even care if people get sick. I mean, they must be so sick. To be the strongest military power, and for people to know that the strongest military power, what's going on over there is that they're actually going to repeal the tiny bit of the healthcare they finally got that's getting sick kids their medicine. These people must be inhuman, and they know that we have a huge Jewish population, much of whom is rich, much of whom is in power. They know they often refer to the neoconservatives as old Jewish and all this kind of stuff. Right? If you perceive that you're dealing with people that don't care if little kids get sick, you're fine hating together and feel completely justified. And if you think you have right on your side, you can do anything. I'd rather see an intergenerational progress here towards national health care than I would an intergenerational process overseas towards another Holocaust. That's the reason to bring it up.